Celebrate good times. Come on. It's our 100th episode.
Woo!
Yay.
Great song.
I'm expecting Matt at this point to put in some sound effects of cheering people.
Right.
Throngs of crowds going wild. Which is how many downloads we have, which is throngs at this point. Throngs.
It's an industry term.
We're almost up to 15,000 downloads. Not to mention the people that listen on Veritas Catholic Network, 1350 AM. Thank you, Steve Lee. Shout out to you.
A surprising number of parishioners of St. Mary's in Bethel, too. A couple people have said, Joe, I heard your voice. And I said, are you off your medicine?
Yeah,
are you dreaming?
In your dreams and your nightmares?
Yeah, and your worst nightmares?
No, so now that it's our 100th episode, I think we should mention why we called this Restless. Do you know why?
I have no idea.
Is it my heart is restless, rests in you?
Boom!
I'm so smart.
It's a quote from whom?
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine says, Lord, you've made us for
you know the
yourself.
Latin?
No.
I can never remember it.
Well, then
I've heard it.
Then why'd you bring it up?
I was hoping you knew it. I thought I had higher expectations.
I'm sorry. No, I don't. Yeah, so from St. Augustine, our hearts are restless until they rest in you. That's why we're called restless, because we are restlessly seeking the face of God in today's mixed up and crazy world. You've joined myself, Paul, Joe, and Lauren, as together today we talk about what's in a name, and we celebrate the fact that it's almost been 2 years since we've been on the air on Veritas Catholic Network, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I think our first gig was like Halloween 2 years ago, 2020, somewhere around that area.
Mm-hmm.
So with our 100th episode, by the way, are we going to do something special for the release of our 100th episode? We're going to have a pizza party?
Let's do it.
Okay, because we did one for our
Always
50th?
a fun time. Well, we did our 1 year anniversary of the show coming out.
1 year anniversary, which is about 50.
First time I recorded.
And we did one when
That's
the
right.
show came out as a little launch party.
That's true. That's true.
So it's
they've
grown
all been
each
pizza.
time.
They have all been pizza. Should we do sushi this time?
I like sushi.
I like sushi too. Yeah, it's a little more expensive.
We can see.
I'll ask Steve Lee if we have a budget.
Well, considering last time we had to pay for our own pizza, I probably had a budget for it.
But it was happy hour prices.
All right, look, we were there at the fundraiser for Veritas Network, so I'm hoping they've got some funds.
That's right. Musical entertainment.
That's right. That's right. If you don't, I hope you all come this coming year. I think it's like in April or something.
Maybe we'll be back. It was April
We will
7th.
be back. Yeah, we'll be doing different songs and
Nice.
praising God there. Yeah, so let's talk about names, because names I think are really fascinating. For Christians, names have so much meaning. So what does your name mean, both your first and your last name?
My name is Lauren Doyle. My whole life I thought Lauren meant victorious one, but I looked it up and it says wisdom. Wisdom or laurel plant, derived from the French name Lawrence. So
Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah,
Great
which
St.
makes
Lawrence, patron saint of cooks.
yeah, but I certainly like wisdom. Here I see another result is victory of wisdom.
Okay.
So that's all good. And then Doyle, as I understand, means stranger. So like in Ireland, the Vikings came in and took over, and the Vikings were the strangers and, took over the Irish people and
So they were the Doyles.
reproduced with them. Yeah, and it's a very common Irish name.
Really? So, but did you do like a 23andMe? Like, do you have Viking in your blood?
Well, my dad says we do. I've never done the actual test.
You are 6 foot something, right?
No, yeah,
Are you
I'm
not?
5'8".
Oh, 5? Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were taller. She's got that Viking.
Good.
build.
People say that
Good
to me
posture.
actually a
Good
lot,
posture.
that
Good
they think I'm taller
You do
than
have
I
good
am.
posture. Yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe you're wearing platforms. I don't know.
A lot of back patting on the show so far, huh?
My name's Paul. So
Hi, Paul.
thanks. Paulus means small, modest, humble. I am short. I'm 5'5", so I've checked that box.
Half credit.
Are you modest and humble?
I try
No.
to be.
That was a joke.
Occasionally. I would say I'm modest. Humble. I have my moments. So
Anyone can be virtuous twice a day.
yeah. So my last name is Iannone, which is Italian, and Janus in Latin is John, or something like that. And one is a suffix that means big. So my last name means Big John.
Ah, Big John.
So
Small, humble one, Big John.
that's exactly right.
Like a large toilet type John.
Porta potty.
Whatever you want. I'm sure that there was some guy in Italy, and he was a big guy named John, and his name was Big John. It's actually the feminine, the last name. My last name's in the feminine, plural. So it's actually Big John, feminine, plural.
Big Jones.
Yeah, so
multiple Big Joannes.
yeah. So that's exciting. But that's my name. My middle name is Anthony.
Good Italian right there.
Yeah, so there's that. I was named after my grandparents. My
Nice.
grandfather's names were Paul and Anthony. My dad's also name is Paul, but not the same lineage. His father was Anthony. My mom's dad was Paul. So
Oh, wow. You got Pauls on all sides of your family.
2 others. We're the only 3
Oh, really?
in the entire family.
Really?
I believe.
Oh.
So far as no, there's one other.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. That's cool.
yeah. Owns car dealerships.
Back in the old country? Or?
No, here.
Oh,
currently.
okay. Nice. Hope you get some discounts.
Nope.
Darn.
My name is Joseph Anthony Parada, and Joseph means God will add, apparently. Anthony means priceless one, and Parada means, well, it's derived from Pietro or Peter, which is obviously a rock. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
God will add, what's that one? God will add priceless one, Peter. Make of that what you will.
Oh, it's interesting.
That's a
Sorry,
jumble.
quick tangent to your name. So one of the families in my lineage is Petrocelli, which
Probably
also
similar,
is
yeah.
Peter, and the family crest of that family is a rooster.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's probably not
Isn't
what
that cool?
Peter
That's
wants to be
unfortunate.
known as. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in any case,
Betrayer.
that's right.
Yeah.
And we just learned about what the first part of your name means, Father. What about the rest of it?
So
Do you have a middle name?
I do have a middle name. Yeah.
What's your middle name?
Yeah. It's Andre.
Andre.
My grandfather was very French. Andre Toussaint.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was named after both my grandfathers. One of my grandfathers, the one whose name was Joseph, actually legally changed his name to Foster.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. He was Australian for beer, I suppose. I'm
I
not
see.
sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, he did, which was interesting because Joseph's such a great name. But
It's a great name.
and I always wanted to go by Joseph and not by Joe or Joey or.
Yet you are perennially referred to as Father Joe.
Well, okay. May I just say, as one who was there from the beginning, he went by Deacon Joe. He went by Deacon Joe at St. Mary's in Bethel.
He did.
And then he abruptly and unjustly tried to make us call him Father Joseph. And I led the rebellion against this. And as the day of your ordination, I said, do I have to call you Father Joseph now? You said, do whatever you're comfortable with. And I said, from your lips to God's ears, you are Father Joe. So that's that. That's
Like
that
I
story.
said, you are perennially referred to
Yes.
as Father Joe.
Only behind my back,
No.
alas. But my last name is actually kind of interesting because so people think I'm Irish with the last name of Gill, but I'm not Irish. And this is, from what I hear, the family legend. And my parents, I'm sure, are going to listen to this episode and call me up and say, that's not how it was. But my family of origin came from Alsace-Lorraine, which, depending on the century, was either German or French. And so the name was Gull with an umlaut over the U. And Gull, like gully, means swamp dweller, someone who dwelt in the lowlands. But when they came over to America, they didn't know what to do with an umlaut. So they just made an I out of it because there's a dot over it. You guys know what an umlaut is?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
It's the
course.
U with the two
So
I's.
one reading of your name could be God will add hiking. Is that more or less plausible? Swamp dweller, hiker. God will add hiking.
Why is
Joseph means God will add, right?
God will add, yeah.
Yeah.
But the swamp dweller?
That could be a hiker, right? Somebody who hikes.
I want to
the
be on the
swamp.
mountains.
No.
Like, swamps. That's
Bad hiker.
people? I don't know. I don't know. I don't get that one. Anyway, you're Alsatian. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Alsatian food and wine a lot. So that's great.
Well, one family's my dad's family is from Alsace-Lorraine. My other family is from Brest in France, so the northwest
Okay.
corner, which is a little different food,
Very
and
different.
drink.
Yeah.
But I hope to get to France very soon, God willing. Do you like your name?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I like my name. My only issue with it is that it's a lot of syllables. I mean, Joseph Parada. Like it's kind of like it's not.
not bad.
But it's not campaign poster worthy.
Yeah. People could look at your
It's not,
name
it's
though.
not like Tom Price or like
yeah.
Yeah, it's not 2 one-syllable words. Like it lacks punch to a certain extent, I would say.
Yeah, but my last name no one can pronounce. I have never gotten. I think I've probably gotten 2 people ever who have pronounced my name. We have the Americanized version of my name and the Italian version, right? I think I've probably gotten like 4 people ever that aren't Italian that have been able to pronounce my name in either of those forms. There's some really creative ways that people, because it's mostly N's and vowels. It's all actually, the only consonant in it is an N, and the rest is vowels.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Weird.
Very hard to pronounce.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a weird name.
You would not.
It's actually not that weird in Italy. There's an Andrea, whatever, who's a famous Ducati racer. So whenever I'm in Italy, it's like, oh, you rated to Andrea, Ducati racer? No. Well, maybe. I don't know. He's from Abruzzo, so I don't know.
That would not be a fun like Wheel of Fortune name to do.
No,
I have to buy all these vowels, and all
Lot
I
of
get's an
vowels.
N, a lousy N.
You get an N.
Did you guys have nicknames when you were younger?
Not really.
Really?
I mean, Joe.
My family calls me Polly.
Polly? Really?
Yeah, the diminutive.
But like your friends never called you a funny name or anything?
No,
Because I was the Gillsbury Joe boy.
That's really funny.
that's really weird.
I like that.
Where'd that
That's
come
amusing.
from?
A very, very good friend of mine, Stephen Rohr, decided, he's like, I think he first called me the Joe boy, and then he's like, wait, Gil, the Gillsbury Joe boy.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great. As a kid, I never had a nickname really. There was always another Lauren in my class, guaranteed, or two. And it still happens all the time. There's always another Lauren around. When I went to college, one of the captains of the Frisbee team started calling me LD, which stuck. So I've been LD among my Frisbee friends and most of my friends since then, which I like. It's easy, it's quick, it fits me. And then in high school sports, it was Doyle.
Just Doyle.
Because male and female coaches would call me that.
Sure.
So my name, it was always, because we had two Pauls in my Catholic school, my class in Catholic school. So the other Paul was just Paul, and then I was my first and my last name smished together really quickly.
How's that sound?
Paulinon.
Palanon.
Yeah, that's fine.
Palanon.
Yeah. So that was my. If I were to have a nickname, that would be my nickname.
Oh, wow. So names have such a significance in Scripture and in our Catholic faith. I mean, your name is your identity. And do you feel like your name is part of your identity? I mean, like to say God will add, or like victory, or
Small.
small, small and diminutive.
I like the idea of my name meaning God will add. Like, I certainly would like that, right? So I hope God will add to what, right? Because I mean, it's not by my own efforts, right? It's like God adding to my life and controlling my life. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that until a minute ago, but it's been life changing so
All
far.
of, all of a sudden,
Life changing.
he's redirected his
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
life. That's true.
I don't know. I never thought about it.
Oh, okay.
It's who I am.
That's interesting.
In the Bible, though, isn't there this pattern of like new man, new mission?
Yeah, a new name. Yeah.
So
Can you name all the people whose names are changed?
Abram to Abraham.
Yeah.
Jacob to Israel.
Yeah.
Israel.
Yeah. Do you know what Israel means?
God. Struggle with God.
Wrestles with God, which is so like that's so fitting for the rest
Yeah.
of what Israel's history is going to be.
Absolutely.
Well, he literally wrestled with God.
Yeah.
He did. He did.
Obviously, Saul to Paul, right?
Right.
Yeah, my mom when I was young, she'll get mad at me. It's fine. When my mom was young, she would, when I was young, and my mom would yell at me, and I was being really bad. My mom would call me Saul.
That's
No.
amazing. I like that a
True.
lot.
True story.
That's really funny.
She'd go to my dad. Your son became Saul today.
That's hilarious.
It's great.
Catholic joke.
yeah, so I think it's more fitting that, I don't know, taking on a new name is who we are, right? Like what sisters do, and some religious orders. Like
Yeah.
that's the new mission. That's who you are, who you're aiming to be. Not, I'm aiming to be Lauren, Victoria's one, or Amanda, or
Yeah.
Rachel.
Well, it's like our
Like,
confirmation names, right?
Sure. That makes me think of everyone's friend here, Father Andy, is no longer Father Andy.
correct.
He's
Father
Father
struggles with God.
Israel.
Israel. Yeah. So
And no one gets that. They're like, did you hear he changed his name? It's like, yes.
yeah,
Yes, he did.
because this is
new man, new mission.
life. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also something very humble about surrendering. I mean, your the way your identity, the way you identify yourself. I mean, I kind of think like the way popes take on new names, like to an extent, like
Do you know why they do? Fascinating story.
not that I don't know the genesis of it. No.
So the story is that a man named Mercurius, had been elected pope, and he said, "I cannot be a pope with a name after a pagan god." So he changed his name, and ever since
Makes
then,
sense.
they've done it.
See, what I like about it is that the names that are chosen are ultimately universal. So like it might be hard for certain cultures to pronounce the name Jorge Bergoglio, for example, right? Or Joseph
Yeah,
Ratzinger or
like
something
Americans.
that.
Yeah, we struggle with that.
Or Carl Ortiz or whatever like that. But like,
yeah.
everybody has a version of, or at least a lot of languages have a version of, John, Paul, Benedict,
Francis.
in their language. It's kind of nice. It's like, yeah, I'm surrendering my identity. I'm surrendering part of my identity.
Well,
to be more accessible.
Western languages.
Yeah, of course. To be more accessible to a wider church.
Yeah, that's interesting. If I became pope, I would be Pope Joseph.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Why not? No one's been named Pope Joseph before.
Joseph the First.
Yeah. No, just Joseph until there's a second.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because Francis is not Francis the First.
No. Well, he is.
I mean, he could be. Yeah, he is the first.
Yeah,
He could also be the last. I mean,
he could be the last. Yeah,
Could
who
be.
knows? Who knows?
I think a lot of the faith life is about surrender,
Yeah.
like giving your life over to Christ, right? Letting him live within us, and thinking about giving up your name, your identity is like a whole other level, right? It's not just your belongings and I guess your schedule, what you want to do, right? Because it's poverty, chastity, and obedience, right? That are the typical vows, but even your name, like how you've identified yourself, how everyone has known you your entire life, you're giving that up as well.
Yeah. And that's why
Pretty profound.
even when you get baptized, you're supposed to have a name that's not opposed to Catholic thought. So like, if
Well, you used to be you had to be a saint, right? Like that was a common. I don't know if it was a doctrine or discipline.
it was a discipline.
Because like
Yeah.
my uncle, his name is Gary, but the priest wouldn't baptize him as Gary.
Really?
So he's actually baptized as Anthony Gary.
Oh my gosh. I baptized a kid named Ocean.
Ocean?
I still don't know if it's a boy or
against
girl.
faith.
It's not against faith, but
No. I mean, we all know
not a saint.
Sekile in Stanford. She was baptized as Sekile.
Maybe that means something in her culture.
It does.
What does it mean?
I can't remember.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Lauren, do you ever think about the idea of surrendering your name, like in terms of like changing your last name if you get married? Is this
I
something you thought
have
about?
thought about that. Yeah, that would be hard, I think, because again, my identity has always been Lauren Doyle. I love my name, and in different ways, like I've become known for my name. Like before, I mean, maybe I'm known a little bit from this podcast. I don't really know, but before that, it's like in the ultimate Frisbee world, being known, and it's like, do I want to give that up? Not really, and certainly too with people that I have dated or considered dating. I definitely think about their name. Like, oh, I like that name, or like, I probably wouldn't give up my name.
Really?
But I think I would want to have the same name as my children. I think that would supersede me wanting to keep my identity as Lauren Doyle.
My sister-in-law kept her name and did that whole little hyphen thing, but her name is Matajevic. I'm like, that's a mouthful. It's like your poor kids, they're going to be Matajevic-Gill. Imagine trying to write that as a first grader.
Right. I wouldn't do the hyphen thing personally.
Hyphen thing's tough.
Yeah, stuff. Because then eventually you're going to get after 7 generations.
Oh,
You're
I
gonna
have
have,
something
Hispanic names.
potentially controversial. What do you guys think about when couples give their child the last name of the mother?
I don't think I've ever run across that happening, to be totally honest with you.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's an unobserved phenomenon by myself.
I've seen hyphens. I've seen the last name of the mother as a middle name
For the mother. Or you mean for the children?
for the children.
Because it's
So
common.
last,
My
did I
mom,
say that right? The
No,
last
yeah,
name
it's
of the mother.
true.
Yeah.
It's like my mother made her maiden name her middle name when she took my
Yeah, my
father's
mom
last
did too.
name, which I think is
Well,
more-
mom didn't.
more or less
My mom
common.
didn't have a middle name.
Is that something you've
I have seen
Is
it
that common?
twice. One reason was because the mother's last name was going to die out, and the other was because the mother did all the work in making the child.
that's that's universal truth.
So
Hey, now, wait a second. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's nothing intrinsically wrong because I think certain cultures do that, from what I've heard.
it'll probably be confusing, I guess, for the kid, because just the standard is we're all named after our dads.
Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember reading a great story about a man who was he grew up in kind of a messy home. Like the dad was abusive and not a great guy. And when he was probably like 17 or 18, he found out that he wasn't his real dad. That his real dad had died as a missionary in Africa, spreading the gospel to people when he was like a baby. And so his mom remarried, and that was like this abusive dad that he knew. And so he decided that he didn't want to have the legacy of this abusive dad, but rather of his heroic real dad.
Mm-hmm.
So he changed his last name to kind of take on that identity, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
To be able to say that's my new identity.
Yeah. The that's interesting. So the photographer for the Archdiocese of Hartford, his name is Aaron Joseph.
I know him, yeah.
Yeah, you know him. Yeah. So he's consecrated layman, I think is the proper term, and so he took the name Joseph because he has a very deep devotion to Saint Joseph, and so he changed his last name, not his first name. His first name is Aaron, his birth name, but he changed his last name.
Because he was adopted as well.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, he
Oh, I
was.
didn't know
He was
that
an
story.
orphan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was in foster homes and things for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was ever adopted. That'd be good.
Or maybe not.
for him.
Maybe
yeah,
not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just beautiful to think about. So if you guys have kids someday in the future, what would you name your kids?
It's not up to me. That's probably
It's not up to you.
that's how I've been told.
You don't want a Paul Jr.?
No, we
PJ?
wouldn't. We don't do juniors or seconds in my family very often. So even my dad's Paul, but he's Paul Nicholas. I'm Paul Anthony. Paul is a good name. I'm named after after his grandfather, which would be my dad.
Okay.
Probably something after a saint, pretentious and difficult to pronounce, right? Like
Saint Cunegunda?
like Polycarp. Cunegunda's a good one. Polycarp. Athanasius, maybe.
Nice. What do you
Yeah.
call him for short? Like Carp?
Yeah.
Hey, Polly.
Poly.
No,
yeah,
that's
I'd
a
have
boy.
I'd have two. It would be one Poly, one Carp.
For twins.
Yeah.
Pretentious, long.
They're going to
that's
change
pronounced.
their last name because they want to disown you after that.
Oh, it's a moot point anyway.
You always have to think about like how they're going to be called. Like I have a nephew named Felix, which is a great name and is a pope, an early church saint. But what do you think of when you hear the word Felix?
Felix the cat.
Felix the cat, right? That's the only thing I think
Right.
of. Felix
I'm
the
probably.
cat.
Am I the only one who knows that? Here? I
I'm
do
not
identify
familiar
as
with
a
it.
baby boomer, so that's how I.
You do identify as a baby boomer.
I know
and
Felix
we
the
respect
cat.
that.
Felix the cat. Yeah. And I'm just
familiar
thinking
with
like when he grows up, like kids are going to be like Felix or whatever.
So one of my coworkers from different country named sons in the family Oscar and Felix.
No.
No idea.
No.
No idea. It's great.
See,
This is a
Lauren and Joe,
completely, yeah.
Lauren and
I don't
Joe
know
definitely
anything.
don't get
Yeah,
that.
I'm clearly thinking which Jedi to name my kids after, actually.
No, Anakin.
Obi-Wan.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's
Not
gonna be a fun
Anakin.
couple.
He turns bad.
Yeah.
But he's good though.
My son Kit.
He's redeemed.
Plo Koon, maybe. I don't know.
Plagueis.
Yeah, well, it's not a Jedi.
I will pray you become a priest.
Yeah.
Was a Jedi.
Lauren was. Yeah. Do you have any names?
I have names I like. Catherine,
Nice.
St. Catherine of Siena. Christine, it's my mother's name. And she would be Christine.
Not Chris.
Nope. Or Chrissy. Christine. And there's like a few names I like for boys, like Daniel or Peter. You know,
Peter's my confirmation saint.
nice.
you go.
Props on that one.
My name would have been, if I was a girl, my name would have been Christine Mary Grace.
That's like a nun name.
Something like that. Well, my
Fair.
two grandmothers are Mary and Grace.
Okay.
Or were. They're dead.
Nice.
My
They
parents
were alive
didn't.
at the
They're
time.
still named that. in
My
heaven.
parents didn't come up with a boy name for me. My dad knew I was going to be a girl. I
Really?
think he just was like,
Just
"We're
had
going to
the
have a
gut
girl,"
feeling.
and he picked Lauren. And the funny thing is, my mom has 3 sisters. Her oldest sister is Laura, and she had a baby first, a year before me, who she named Kristen. My mom's name is Christine, and my mom is her godmother. Then I was born and named Lauren, and that was not intentional.
Really?
My Aunt Laura is my godmother. And both our dads, I think, named us. And we have the same middle name, which is Elizabeth, after our dad's mothers.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Wow. Go figure.
And they both went by Betty, Grandma Betty. Just a funny thing.
My mom was supposed to be Lena, like Angelina, but Lena until she was born. But she was born on the 28th of October, so she was Judith, because that's the feast of St. Jude.
Oh, Jude. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Right, it is.
So it was like
should know
all
that.
along.
Pastor of
Pastor St.
St.
Jude's.
Jude's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the name of God, right? So first of all, are there any names of Jesus or God that you particularly like that you can relate to?
How do you mean? I don't understand.
Like, do you like when you
Title, you mean?
yeah, like when you pray, you're like, Lord Jesus, or like there's this
Like
completely-
Emmanuel, God is with us.
a completely inappropriate movie. Don't ever watch Talladega Nights.
Oh,
But there's a funny scene in there where he's praying to baby Jesus. We got to pray to baby Jesus. And, his wife is like, Jesus can grow up now. You can pray to adult
Right.
Jesus. No, baby Jesus.
Maybe Jesus. I mean, sometimes I'll invoke the name of Christ's divine physician in prayer.
Oh,
People
that's
who
cool.
are-
That's a good
who
one.
need healing, or I kind of like the idea of Christ the eternal high priest. Not kind of. I do like the idea of Christ the eternal high priest.
Nice.
What about for you?
For me, I mean, the name of Jesus is so powerful. It's God. It means God saves, and it's his whole identity. So, just praying that name, and the fact that He allows us to call Him by His first name.
You ever go to like Adonai or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I kind of like Adonai. I've used that in prayer sometimes.
Elohim.
Yeah. Which one is that? What does that one mean?
That just means God. Adonai means Lord.
Right.
So speaking about that, then what about Yahweh?
I asked you about that before.
Yeah. Can we say Yahweh?
You just did twice.
Sounds like it's yes.
No, but our Jewish brothers and sisters will never say that word. It's forbidden. Can we as Christians?
Apparently.
Maybe I'm just blaspheming. You should
Well,
stone
even
me
on
after
like
this
if you go on
episode.
some synagogue websites, still do G-D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume we can. I've never been told we could. I've heard of retreats named Yahweh.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I'm assuming it's all right.
I think it's okay to say Yahweh. It's just not around Jewish people.
Was there like a practice suggested by the church, or like, is there any document one can turn to in a time of crisis like this?
Well, yeah. 'Cause I want to say
maybe not Bishop Lefebvre.
I want to say 15 years ago or so, because there was this beautiful song, Yahweh, I know you are near. You guys remember that song?
Yeah.
Go tambourine now.
Yeah, it's a little guitar. I like that song a lot, but the I don't know if it's USCCB or if the Vatican came out and said, just out of respect for our Jewish brothers and sisters, we shouldn't say it in the liturgy.
Interesting. In the liturgy.
In the liturgy, yeah.
That kind of makes sense because we do treat names differently in the liturgy. Like, it's actually written into the books that the name of Jesus and Mary, our heads should bow in the liturgy.
It's true.
So like we do treat names differently, and we have the whole Roman canon which lists names. So it kind of makes a little bit of sense, actually.
Yeah. I think theologically, though, that's one of the things that Jesus came, which is to allow us that intimate access with God. But that's a tough balance, because intimacy doesn't mean taking the holiness out of God.
Yeah.
Did they change the words of the song?
They
I think
did.
they did, right?
They did.
In the new hymnals, yeah.
Yeah. They could have just said, Father, I know you are near, but they changed the whole thing.
So are there like rad trads who are like, no, the pre-19 2000 whatever missile version of that song is the most accurate one?
They would never,
They're
ever,
trad wars.
ever
Is there-
sing that
Is
song.
there a Facebook group for this that I could find? There probably is.
You might, as like an entrance, or you might hear "Lift High the Cross." It's like the extent.
I do, because there are some songs that they've gender neutralized in the liturgy.
What?
They've taken out all the he's referring to God,
Why?
because they don't want to say that God is a he.
But he is.
Well,
He is, but he isn't,
yeah.
right? I mean, God has the perfection of both genders.
True.
When I was down in the Archdiocese of Baltimore, this story blew my mind. Forever and ever, anytime Cardinal Keeler would celebrate Mass, the deacon would say, "Prepare to receive the blessing," instead of "bow down for the blessing." And I finally asked, why does he say it differently? And he said that some women complained that they would never bow their head to a male deity. And I was like, what? This is God we're talking about.
No, deity, not a male, like a male cleric. Like they would not to God the Father.
Right. They would never acknowledge a male
That sounds
having
docile.
power over them. So, yeah. So he changed it. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is that in the? I don't even know. Is that in the black? Like you're supposed to say "bow your heads."
Yes. Bow your head.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bow to receive God's blessing.
Oh wow. You're not. You're supposed to say the black and do the red, right?
That's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The spirit of Vatican II must have moved. It does that sometimes.
Okay, let's move on.
Sorry.
Anyway, last
myself
question.
up.
Last question. Yeah, really. How do we respect the name of God? Like, what were some ways in which we could respect that name?
How about just don't disrespect it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what does that
Say
mean?
the Lord's name in vain? Ever?
Like, when people say "Oh my God" out of excitement, is that blasphemy? Is that wrong?
We probably should not say that.
I agree.
Although apparently, like I was just saying this before we recorded, that on the Pillar podcast, Ed Condon was saying that in a lot of the Anglosphere, within the Catholic community there, it's not really considered taking Lord's name in vain to say "Oh my God," to say "OMG," specifically because he said my God's name isn't God. So he's saying, like, I would never take the name of our Lord Jesus Christ in vain or anything like that. But he's saying I'm not going to. He said to say OMG is not. He's saying that is the practice in other parts of the world. I'm not saying that is right or wrong or
Well, that's true.
otherwise.
Most of the parts, yeah, "Mon Dieu" in France, right? Or "Oh Dios mío"
Yeah, Dio mio.
Spanish,
like
right? It's
Italian.
very common.
Or have you ever heard Jesus, Joseph, and Mary?
No.
Yeah.
I think that one's kind
Yeah.
of funny. I know I shouldn't say it.
My dad, when he stubbed his toe, would be like, "God bless America."
Yeah.
That's
Good.
pretty good.
That's a good way to get around it.
Yeah. We do wish that God bless America.
Yeah, especially after you stub your toe.
Yeah.
But also, like, an answer to your actual question, like in writing, right? If you're referring to God or Jesus, and you're referring to the act, not to God as a term, but as a person, capital G, right?
Please.
Or the one that I care about a lot, right? His capital H, him capital H, right?
Bibles don't do that though.
Yeah, I know. That's what I do because it's like, I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about Paul him. I'm talking about God him, right? So it's like I'm pointing out like who I'm still talking about here. I'm still talking about God.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My practice anyway.
I do that too.
Yeah. And I think that business from the Pillar podcast is just totally wrong. Because
apparently it is a practice that is experienced by the faithful elsewhere in the world.
I know, but here in America, if I'm saying, "Oh God, I love you," then I don't have to specify what God that is, right?
Right.
Because God's sitting up there being like, "Wait, are you talking to Zeus or me?"
Right.
No, because like I acknowledge there's only one God. So if I'm saying, "Oh my God,"
Yeah.
I
mean, there are cultural differences, right? And it might be different. It might actually be different in substance in America than in England.
Maybe
to say OMG.
I don't know. Funny you talk about England. A friend of mine, Father Michael Clark, is from England. I asked him about bloody. Why are they always saying bloody this and bloody that? He said it's actually a slur on Our Lady. He said bloody is short for by Our Lady.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I was like, wow, I'm never going to use that. Not that I ever did. I'm not British, but there we go.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to work out how
That's
you get
interesting.
from BOL to blood.
By Our Lady. Bloody. By Our Lady.
I guess you say it fast.
I don't know.
Well, goodbye is God be with ye. So
Is
there's
it?
that.
It's true.
So English just takes on different forms and
Yeah.
vernacular over time, I would say.
Right.
Mm.
Anyway, thank you for joining us in this 100th episode of Restless.
That's right.
You can
Restless.
we hope to go for at least another 100. Hopefully
What a thought.
I know, right? Yeah, who could have thought 2 years ago we'd have now 15,000 downloads and like 15 fans
And growing.
and growing. Yes.
And not all of them are on the podcast. It's worth noting.
That's
True. Or our moms and dads.
Or our moms. Yeah.
Actually, if you count them up, it might be more than 15, actually.
Yeah, that's
Spread the word, folks, though, because we do cover a lot of topics, and people do come up to us occasionally, rarely, and say, "I heard this, and
Rarely,
I really enjoyed it." And I don't know, people I think need to be more courageous and have more conversations about the faith. But if you can't, you could just say, "Hey, check out this pro-life episode. Hey, check about faith in the workplace or whatever. Something that we may have covered might benefit you or somebody you know."
Absolutely. Yeah, and please subscribe to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube, on Facebook. We do have an Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, we have an Instagram too.
At Restless Catholic Media
Restless Catholic
And
Media.
Facebook for all those young adults out there. I love Facebook.
and older adults.
I do Facebook. Sorry.
Facebook's for the older
I don't
folks
have
now.
any social media.
I have Facebook.
I have LinkedIn.
Follow Paul on LinkedIn.
Veritas is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And follow Veritas Catholic Network as well. Remember, it's a podcast by young adults, but it's for everybody of all ages, even though Joe said sex twice, I think, on an earlier podcast. But that's
Interested once here.
I did. But you can find us on Veritas Catholic Network Fridays at 12 noon, and also on 1350, which is also Veritas Catholic Network.
Yep.
And wherever else you get your podcast. Tune in next time for another 100 episodes of Restless.